What if I told you that Iran, the modern-day nation, plays a crucial role in the Bible's grand narrative of prophecy and world events? When people usually think of biblical history, they focus on nations like Israel, Egypt, and Babylon. However, Iran, known as Persia in biblical times, was not just another empire. It was specifically named in prophecy and played a significant role in shaping the destiny of God's chosen people. Iran's biblical origin story is much more interesting than many realize. From the descendants of Noah to the reign of Cyrus the Great, the history of the Iranian people is intricately connected with key moments in the Bible. The shocking part is that God used Persia, a kingdom ruled by pagan kings, to deliver Israel, rebuild the temple, and fulfill prophecies that had been spoken centuries earlier. In this exploration, we'll look at how the Bible reveals the origins of the Iranian people, their rise to power, and their central role in shaping both the Old Testament and the visions of prophecy for the future. By the end, you'll understand Iran not just as a modern-day country, but as a key player in God's unfolding plan for the world. Iran's biblical roots and connection to Noah. To understand Iran's biblical roots, we must start with the story of Noah and his descendants. After the Great Flood, Noah's three sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, became the ancestors of all the nations on earth. According to the genealogies in the Bible, one of Japheth's sons was Madai, Genesis 10 verse 2, whose descendants later became known as the Medes. The Medes were closely associated with the Persians, and together they formed the foundation of what became the Medo-Persian Empire, one of the most powerful empires in world history. The descendants of Madai settled in what is now modern-day Iran, and from this region emerged the Persians, who would later rise to prominence. Both groups shared a common ancestry, which places the Iranian people within the biblical narrative from the earliest days following the flood. This connection links the Iranian people to one of the oldest genealogies in the Bible, showing that Iran's role in God's plan began long before Persia became a great empire. Persia's rise to power and its role in biblical history. Several centuries after the descendants of Madai settled in Iran, Persia rose to power under the leadership of Cyrus the Great, who founded the Achaemenid Empire, also known as the First Persian Empire. This empire became one of the largest and most powerful in world history, stretching from the Indus River in the east to North Africa in the west. It encompassed many of the major regions mentioned in the Bible, including Israel, Babylon, and Egypt. But Persia's significance in the Bible goes far beyond its military might. Its importance lies in how God used Persia to fulfill his promises to the Israelites. In 586 BC, the Babylonian Empire, under King Nebuchadnezzar, had conquered Jerusalem, destroyed the temple, and taken the people of Judah into captivity. This captivity lasted for 70 years, just as the prophet Jeremiah had foretold. Jeremiah 25 verses 11 to 12, 29:10. Then, in 539 BC, Cyrus the Great, a Persian king, conquered Babylon, changing everything. The book of Ezra opens with a decree from Cyrus, allowing the Israelites to return to their homeland and rebuild the temple in Jerusalem. This decree is recorded in Ezra 1 verses 1 to 4, where Cyrus declares, "The Lord, the God of heaven, has given me all the kingdoms of the earth and has appointed me to build a temple for him at Jerusalem in Judah." The prophetic role of Cyrus the Great. One of the most remarkable aspects of Persia's biblical role is the involvement of Cyrus the Great. More than 150 years before Cyrus was born, the prophet Isaiah had already named him as the one who would fulfill God's will in restoring Israel. In Isaiah 44 verse 28, God says, "Who says of Cyrus, 'He is my shepherd and will accomplish all that I please.' He will say of Jerusalem, 'Let it be rebuilt,' and of the temple, 'Let its foundations be laid.'" Then, in Isaiah 45 verse 1, God even refers to Cyrus as his anointed, a title usually reserved for Israel's kings. It may seem strange that a foreign, pagan king would be called God's anointed, but this demonstrates God's sovereignty. He can use anyone, even those outside his covenant people, to bring about his plans. Cyrus's decree to allow the Israelites to return and rebuild the temple was not just a political act. It was a fulfillment of the prophecy given by Jeremiah that the Babylonian captivity would last 70 years. The rise of Cyrus marked the end of that period. Jeremiah 25 verse 12, 29:10. Cyrus's role in rebuilding the temple under the leadership of Zerubbabel is one of the key moments in Israel's restoration. God used Persia not only to defeat Babylon, but to help Israel be reborn as a nation, fulfilling God's promise to his people. Persia's role in the story of Esther. Persia's involvement in biblical history doesn't end with Cyrus. The book of Esther provides another example of how Persia was used by God to protect his people. During the reign of King Xerxes I, also known as Ahasuerus, a plot was devised by Haman, an official in the Persian court, to annihilate the Jews living in the empire. However, through God's providence, a young Jewish woman named Esther had become the queen of Persia. Encouraged by her uncle Mordecai, Esther courageously approached the king and revealed her Jewish identity, pleading for the survival of her people. Mordecai's famous words to Esther in Esther 4 verse 14 are a reminder of God's timing. And who knows but that you have come to your royal position for such a time as this? Esther's brave actions led to a reversal of Haman's plot, and the Jewish people were allowed to defend themselves. This miraculous deliverance is still celebrated today during the Jewish festival of Purim, as a reminder of how God used Persia to protect his people once again. Persia in prophecy, the visions of Daniel. The Bible doesn't only talk about Persia's historical role, it also places Persia in the prophetic visions of the future. In the book of Daniel, the Jewish prophet Daniel, who served in the courts of both the Babylonian and Persian empires, had several visions that revealed the rise and fall of world empires, including Persia. In Daniel 2, King Nebuchadnezzar dreams of a statue made of different materials, each representing a world empire. The silver chest and arms of the statue represent the Medo-Persian Empire, which succeeded Babylon. Later, in Daniel 7, Daniel has a vision of 4 beasts, symbolizing 4 empires. The second beast, a bear raised up on one side, represents the Medo-Persian Empire. Another important vision involving Persia is found in Daniel 8, where Daniel sees a ram with 2 horns, symbolizing the Medes and Persians. This ram is powerful, charging in all directions and conquering vast territories. However, the vision also includes a goat, symbolizing Greece and its king, Alexander the Great, who would eventually conquer Persia. These visions place Persia at the center of God's prophetic timeline, showing that Persia's rise and fall were part of God's divine plan. Persia's influence beyond the Old Testament. Although the Persian Empire fell to Alexander the Great in the 4th century BC, its influence didn't disappear. By the time of Jesus' birth, Persia had been replaced by the Greek and later Roman empires. However, Persian culture, governance, and administration left a lasting legacy in the ancient world. One of the more mysterious connections between Persia and the New Testament is the story of the Magi, or wise men, who visited the infant Jesus. Many scholars believe that the Magi were from the region of Persia and were likely Zoroastrian priests. Their journey to worship the newborn king of the Jews shows that Persia still had a significant role in the biblical narrative, even after its empire had faded. Persia in end-time prophecy. Finally, Persia modern-day Iran also appears in end-time prophecy. One of the most significant references to Persia's future role is found in Ezekiel 38-39, which describes a coalition of nations that will come against Israel in the last days. Among these nations is Persia, which will join forces with Gog of Magog in a great battle known as the War of Gog and Magog. This prophecy suggests that Iran will continue to play a crucial role in the region's spiritual significance in the end times. While the exact nature and timing of this battle remain debated, it is clear that Iran's involvement in these events has been foretold in the Bible. Conclusion: Persia's enduring role in God's plan. The story of Persia, or modern-day Iran, in the Bible is one of the most remarkable examples of how God can use even foreign nations to fulfill his divine purposes. From the descendants of Japheth through Madai to the rise of Cyrus the Great, Persia played a central role in God's plan for Israel's restoration and protection. But Persia's significance goes beyond the historical. The prophecies of Daniel, Isaiah, Ezekiel, and others remind us that Persia was part of God's larger plan, not only in the past but also in the future. As we look at the world today, particularly the tensions between Iran and Israel, we should remember that God is sovereign over all nations and that every event is part of His divine story. Persia's legacy is a testament to the truth that history is not just the rise and fall of empires. It is the unfolding of God's plan for the redemption of His people.
If you found this video enjoyable, please consider liking and sharing it. Additionally, subscribing to this channel will ensure that you receive more updates in the future. Thank you.